Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection. Here, there, and everywhere, alongside Mr. Simon Bray, Mr. Steven Reid. What's happening, gentlemen? How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. Looking forward to talking about a fantastic band, as
We're
always.
going over the rainbow today, aren't we? Not
Rainbow.
We're going up above the streets and houses.
That's right. Toto?
Rainbow climbing high. Climbing
We're
Right.
not in Kansas anymore.
Was it flying high?
Flying high.
Yes.
Flying high.
Anyway, sorry. That's okay. We know.
That's right, Stephen. That's right.
Oh dear.
That's right. It's favorite and least favorite albums of Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow today. But before we start talking about all that, we have a little bit of business to do beforehand. So, Simon, start off the festivities, would you please?
Okay, very quickly. I've got a proper job from St. Austell Brewery in Cornwall. Yes, don't know why I couldn't just read that. There we go. It's an IPA. It's a gift from my birthday in October, which is definitely last month. God knows when this goes out, but yes, it's an IPA, and I already know because I've already scored it on my beer app. It's a beautiful 3.25, and just because there's a bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot chance that Dio might get a mention tonight, I brought out the Goblet of Truth. It makes sense. I got it from the whole of the Mountain Goat or something, and fantastic. 3.25, proper job.
Ooh. It's unusual that somebody's drinking a beer that I've had on the show.
Yeah.
For the proper job. There you go. Very nice. And very good at it too. Right, I am having a beer that's probably aptly named for me. I'm having a Space Cadet. Okay. It's from the Spey Valley Brewery. See what they did there? Look, it's very clever. And this is 5%. It is a hybrid IPA, which means that it has the refreshing taste of a session lager and the light citrus notes of an American IPA. So this is from a brewery. It's in Keith, which is north of Aberdeen. In the glass, it looks a bit like this, which is rather lovely. Never tasted this before. Yeah, I'd agree with that. The synopsis in the back, you kind of start very IPA-ish, IPA, something like that. And it does kind of go a bit lagery, which is not necessarily my kind of thing, to be fair. So I'm probably going to go for about 2.75 on this. It's good. It's nice. I think if it was more my thing, if I'd known what the hybrid IPA thing was more before I drunk it, maybe I wouldn't have chosen this one. It's nice. It's just probably other people prefer it more than I do, I think.
That'd probably be right up my alley, I would think.
It's creamy, it's smooth. It's very nice. It's just not what I would normally drink.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go for something that I haven't had it in a few years, but I have fond memories of it, and I saw it in my local shop. I figure it's time for some Young's Double Chocolate Stout. It's a beer from London. This is deliciously rich. Well, I'll tell you in a minute if it is. 5.2%, brewed in England. For chocolate lovers everywhere, take pure luxury in a glass head-on. Stout brewed with chocolate and natural chocolate flavor added. And it looks kind of like this in my Sabbath Brewery glass. Certainly smells like chocolate. Quite good. More like dark chocolate, not milk chocolate. So it's not overly sweet. It's got that little kind of like bitter chocolate thing going on. It's not as sweet as Samuel Smith's organic chocolate, if that's kind of the barometer we're measuring up. And it's a slight little coffee notes too, but quite good. I would give this one 3.5 out of 5. Good beer. Good beer. With all that being said, now that we got our cheers, gentlemen, drink out of the way. Always nice to have a beer with my friends here.
Yes, indeed.
even though we're thousands of miles away from each other. Although they're a bit closer to get to each other than I am, but yeah.
Simon's just through the room. We just don't talk to each other. We're in the same house.
Yeah, that's all. Steven's upstairs in the attic, right?
No, John's upstairs in the attic.
Ah, yes. Okay.
He's moved.
It's spreading out.
Yeah.
You got too big for the cupboard? Or you're feeding him?
Did. Once he got past those billion streams on Spotify, there was no shutting him up.
And that £2.67 went to his head, did it?
Went in my pocket, to be honest. He's got to cover his own keep, hasn't it? And his own apples.
All right. So we've got not a huge catalog here, the Rainbow catalog, right? But enough albums that it's fairly easy to kind of navigate through and pick out two favorites and two least favorites. And a wild card, of course. The wild card could really be anything in the catalog. Sometimes we'll pick an album that sits right in the middle. Sometimes it could be a live album or a compilation album or whatever it might be, or something kind of related. So we usually leave that pretty open and flexible. And we've each picked out our 2 and 2. So Simon, would you like to kickstart our conversation today?
I'd love to kickstart our conversation. What a happy joy situation listening to Rainbow for the past few months has been. It really, really has. Which one should I go for first? I have a favourite, and it's been my favourite for a very, very long while. I'm fairly confident it's not everybody else's favourite, but I don't care. Very often it's where you come in with a band, isn't it? Where you end up. And I came in with this. Look at that. Look at that. It's the single version of Since You've Been Gone. Yeah, look at that. It used to be in a red polydor thing. I know not why it isn't anymore. But hey, there you go. Such is life. And I remember seeing Rainbow on Top of the Pops when I must have been about, say, 12, something like that, maybe. I don't know. And it started a lifelong fascination that goes on to this day with Roger Glover's head and his hat, because he seems to have hair.
He always wearing something on his. Going way back, even in the early 70s.
Does the hair come off with that? I just don't know. And then there was the Terrible Covers album where he definitely appeared to have hair. So anyway, there you go. However, what the band did at this point is clearly they thought, yes, Stephen, I'm watching you. They either thought or they were told, time to have some hits, chaps. And do you know what? I've seen a video with some guy saying, yeah, not really keen on the hits. The hits are fucking brilliant. The hits are absolutely super.
Who possibly could that have been?
Don't know. Believe
it was spot on impersonation as well.
Believe it was from Poughkeepsie, but anyhow, yeah, the hits are great. If you're gonna go down that commercial route, really commit to it. Get a singer who sings his gonads off every night, and looks like he should be in a completely different band.
Yes.
And really, I've seen them. I remember I've seen them before. Didn't they used to be in Deep? Who's that with the weird shirts and short? What the heck? Oh, I like that song though, and I love the sound of this record. I particularly love the bass sound on this record. Dum 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 dum. Dum 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 dum. It's just what you need when you're walking down the street on a cold Lancashire morning. Let me tell you, white dogs vomiting everywhere. It's just such a good commercial rock record, and it really did the trick because the previous album reached number 7, and I think this one reached 6. So that showed them, didn't it? Off you go, Ronnie. Go on, fuck off. Off you go. Anyway, I love. Practically everything about this record. I like the way it's sequenced. I like the poppy commercial nature of the tunes. I don't think there's a really duff moment on it. It's just proper good commercial hard rock. I really, really like it, and I've liked it since whenever it came out, 1979. So yeah, this isn't the version I got in 1979. I had it on cassette, so then rebought it again. Yes, excellent. So that's my first choice, and a good choice for me. I think
before you continue, Simon. So for those of you who have been watching the show for the last couple of months, there have been a few instances where these two fine gentlemen are going back and forth about who's going to become the better friend to Martin Popoff. So it's no surprise that Simon just picked Martin's favorite Rainbow album as well here today, right? So Steven, he's catching up to you here now.
I appeared on the album. I did.
He just knows so much, doesn't he? He's just so Canadian. Mm. But you know, given how really fucking cold it is here at the moment, I could have a good chat with my mate Martin. However, my other choice, very, I've been listening obsessively to this one for the past few weeks, along with another one that I'm going to say I've been listening obsessively to, Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. Oh, it's so good. It's just so good. It's just so 70s, and that really works for me. It really, and you know, I was trying to think of an adjective to describe this record. I think, and the best one I could actually come up with was, it's as good as I can do. Funky. It's a funky record. It's funky. It kind of grooves. It kind of, like, oh God, like modern day music doesn't. Yes, so if you're playing along with your UK Connection bingo, you can tick that one off. It just grooves so much, and then bing the band off. What a guy! Yeah, it's legend. I mean, is there a better song to open up than Man on Silver Mountain? I think not. I really do. Self-Portrait is awesome. Do you know, watch this video with this guy going, yeah, I can do without Black Sheep of the Family. I fucking love that song. Oh, and the thing about this is that you often think that Dio is Mr. Metal, and of course he is, but he's not just Mr. Metal. There's rock and roll on this, isn't there?
That's essentially an Elf album with Ritchie Blackmore on it.
Yeah,
you are 100% spot on about how much that album grooves and how funky it is. And here's the ironic thing: Ritchie hated Stormbringer, and he wanted to get away from that thing. And he went and formed Rainbow, and they basically did the exact same thing almost, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm just going to screw up the rest of what I was going to say at that point. So thanks very much. Yeah, but yeah.
I'm sorry, Simon. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to go that way.
It absolutely did though, didn't it? And you think, I'm so glad he did have that for now, because this is a fantastic record. Just again, virtually faultless. If I've woke up in the middle of the night every week this week going Snake Charmer, but not better than that, then I really have. Just great, just proper 70s rock where this space in between the instruments and in the production, just bob on. What a great place to start.
Really you like the studio version of Catch the Rainbow, or do you prefer the onstage version of Catch the Rainbow?
I like every version I've ever heard.
It's a great song.
Yeah, it really isn't, and it's a like I say, it's a man who can sing, not just be that kind of caricature. You could argue it became, yeah, he could sing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're off to a good start.
Those would be my choices, and I'm pleased with my choices.
I have this strange feeling that, we'll see after Steven goes, but I have a feeling we might cover all the bases on our favorites here. Go ahead, Steven. Let's see if I'm right.
I'm intrigued. I may blow that right out of the water by doing this. I don't know.
Okay. Well, so much.
Okay. Yeah. Long Live Rock and Roll, 1978, released with Polydor, produced by the legendary Martin Birch. It's not the word for it, really. Ritchie, Ronnie, you've got Cozy fucking Powell on here. You've got Bob Daisley, you've got Tony Carey, although David Stone would appear to have played as much keyboards as Tony Carey did, if I'm not mistaken. I've always loved this album. I just think it's absolutely fantastic, but I really do think the production has got an awful lot to do with it. The clarity of the whole thing, the atmosphere, and the drum sound. It's such a cohesive album. It's such a band. The band are all there. Everything's there. It's all absolutely as it should be. It's maybe more song-based than what had come just before, but it still kind of feels adventurous, and it's still involved. I mean, the title track is just an out and out hard rock anthem. I like LA Connection. I know a lot of people don't. It's a bit throwaway, and it was an obvious single from the album. I still like it. But then you get things like Gates of Babylon. Oh, I mean, we're talking about the kind of breadth of what Ronnie can do. And then, what a great vocal is on that. It's commanding, it's full of character. And I love that kind of mystical Middle Eastern kind of flavour that's on this song. Really works absolutely fantastically. And yet, I mean, he can also sing Rainbow Eyes. That is just one of my favourite vocals of all time. It really is. It's just so, it's not controlled, it's emotional, but it's not overwrought. It's not overplayed. It's just absolutely perfect. And yet, my favourite performance on the whole album is actually on Kill the King, and it's Cozy Pills. Those snare fills and the tom fills, that are just as important as anything that Ritchie is doing or anything that Ronnie's doing. It is just absolutely on the money. Just about every fill on that song is a hook. You are waiting for them, you air drum them, you sing them out loud. They drive the song on. They are just absolute perfection, and they're not too much. They're not too busy. It's not a drummer that wants to fly around the kit and say, I can fill all this space. They're precise. It's really, really clever, and it's really well put together. And it's possibly my favourite Rainbow song of all time. I just absolutely adore that song. So that's my first choice. And I would say I've probably got an even number one. I don't really have a number one and a number two. And really, the whole catalogue's dead strong. There's highs and lows. It depends what you like and what you kind of prefer, I suppose, with the different eras and different styles. 8 studio albums from memory. Can a band with such a small catalogue have had so many distinct eras? Yeah. It is so much like, you know, here's Ronnie, and even one of those albums, the debut is a little bit different from the next two. And then we kind of evolve through Bonnet into Turner, then they go, then they come back and kind of revisit the early stuff, kind of don't, kind of modernise it. And then, of course, we've had another incarnation since then. It is a bizarrely convoluted story, as all the kind of purple offshoots tended to be. Yes. Lots of people came and went.
It's almost as if some of them are difficult to work with, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, you could wonder if some of them like to be in charge.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But there you go. So yeah, my other favourite is Rising. Okay, so 1976. Depending where you were, Polydor or Oyster, it was released through. Also produced by the legendary Martin Birch. And we've got the same lineup other than Jimmy Bain on bass, who would clearly be important for Ronnie's career going forward. Now, truthfully, if we'd done this process maybe 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have considered Rising. I know it's, in inverted commas, the album. Everybody kind of fawns over it. I almost used to resent that a little bit, because I came in later on. I came in during the Joel and Turner era. That was for the Rainbow I knew. Then I went backwards. So this kind of was a little bit of a sort of outlier, strangely enough. For anyone that had been on the journey, anything but what came after became outliers, I suppose. But this is kind of the least song-based, song-focused, if that makes sense. There's more sprawling epics on this. And it just has a different feel, a different atmosphere about it, even though it joins album number 1 and number 3 together really well. But now, it's just perfection, really. There's not much more for it, really. I mean, Stargazer, A Light in the Black, I mean, they're just absolutely captivating. I mean, they're amongst the best things that Blackmore and Dio have ever done, in my humble opinion. Side 1 is more to the point, but it's no less impressive. Do You Close Your Eyes? Do you close your eyes? When we're talking great vocals. Do you know, interestingly, to go off at a very slight tangent, it is only in the last couple of years that I've stumbled across a handful of people, and it is a handful of people that kind of go, yeah, see that Ronnie James Dio? He was all right, wasn't he? Excuse me. I've got a good friend who kind of goes, yeah, Ronnie James Dio was all right, wasn't he? You don't really like him very much. What?
Yeah, there's like
I
a
mean,
handful of them out there. We need to straighten them out, I think, because
I mean, well, I won't give away too many names, Chad. The people from in the prog scene who kind of go, yeah, well, I don't really get it. He's a good singer. I mean, Chad's
there's
going to
two
hate
of
me.
them on in the prog seat.
But
There's
it's to
two
be
of them.
fair. Chad's going to hate me for that because he does always caveat it by saying the guy's a great singer that just doesn't, he doesn't necessarily connect with him. So I'm not going to give him a hard time. I'm going to give him a really hard time for it, actually. I just, it blows my mind. Because what I was going to say about Do You Close Your Eyes was it's right in Ronnie's wheelhouse. Everything's in Ronnie's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Do you know? I mean, I like, is it Love Is All from the Butterfly Ball? What? I mean, it couldn't be any further away from Do You Close Your Eyes or Holy Diver or Heaven and Hell. He could do everything. He was a vocal wizard, in my humble opinion. But yeah, the whole album, I mean, you've got things like that I'm not mentioning, like Taro Woman, Run for the Wolf. It's monumental. And realistically, both vocally and stylistically, this is an album that has been copied, for want of a better term of phrase, over and over and over. There was an era, especially in the 90s, going into the early noughties, where just about everyone that was picking up a guitar and playing a riff kind of was trying to sound a bit like this, and everyone that was picking up a microphone was kind of going, well, yeah, I suppose I've heard Ronnie James Dio a couple of times. So I mean, arguably never bettered, in my humble opinion. So yeah, Rainbow Rising is my other choice.
A lot of good points you brought up there. So for those of you watching in the chat, I'm assuming if you've been watching me for a number of years, I'll give you 5 seconds to post your prediction of what my top 2 favorite rainbows are going to be. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, done. Yeah, Rainbow Rising, number 1, without question. It's funny, Steven mentioned coming into Rainbow during the Joe Lynn Turner years, and I did the exact same thing. Yeah, look at that. Come on, that's a band right there. Look at that. That is one of the greatest lineups of all time right there, of any band. I came into the Rainbow world with Difficult to Cure. So the first 2 albums I own were Difficult to Cure and Straight Between the Eyes. And I love those albums. I still do. And then I went backwards. And that's when my proverbial mind got kind of blown. Yeah, another point Steven made, I think, and Simon touched on as well, too. The first album is very much a funky, it's basically an Elf album with Blackmore on it. Very different from this album. Even though you get on side 1, you get a little feel for what they were kind of doing on the first album. Side 2 is a totally different beast altogether. Been copied, it's influential, and I think side 2 hints at where they're going to go on my number 2 pick, which should be no surprise to anybody. This album represents my favorite Ronnie James Dio vocal performance of all time. It's not even close. I still get goosebumps listening to Stargazer and Light in the Black, and I've heard them hundreds of times. Great album. It's gothic. It's slightly progressive. It's really the genesis of power metal. European power metal is right here, folks, right here. Amazing performances. To me, it's just so sad that this lineup just did this album and the live album, and then that was it. That's the sad thing about it. My number 2 is Long Live Rock and Roll. Love it. I agree, Steven, that Kill the King is immense. Top 3 Rainbow song of all time for me. One of my favorite songs on this album, well, Gates of Babylon. Could you imagine? I was just, while you were talking, could you imagine, because all these albums are really short, like the first 3 albums, they're really short. Could you imagine if you took like the greatest songs from each of the first 3 albums and put them on one album, and you'd have probably the best 45-minute album in the history of heavy music of all time. Could you imagine an album with like Gates of Babylon, Long Live Rock and Roll, Kill the King, Stargazer, Light in the Black, Taro Woman, Man on a Silver Mountain? Could you imagine? That's like the greatest album of all time. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, like Connection. I like it. I don't love it. Whatever. Rainbow Eyes is beautiful. My like kind of like sleeper song on this album is The Shed, which is so crushingly heavy. Great stuff. I love the production of both of these albums. And in true Martin Birch fashion, whenever he, like, with the exception of Iron Maiden, every other band he ever worked with that he did like more than one album with, you listen to those albums like back to back, they don't sound anything alike. You listen to Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, they don't sound anything alike. You listen to these two albums, they don't really sound alike. You listen to Blue Oyster Cult, Cultosaurus Erectus, and Fire of Unknown Origin, they don't sound at all alike. You listen to some of those Whitesnake albums back to back that he did, they don't really sound all that much alike. It's very strange, but I guess that's a good thing, right? As opposed to some of these producers of today who work with Andy Sneap. I'm talking to you. I love you, man, but every band you work with, every production sounds exactly the same, right? Not that it's a bad thing. So anyway, yeah, these are my two favorites. However, there's no bad album in this catalog. Even my bottom two, which I have some faults with, they're still really, really good. This is a great, great catalog. So with that, I'll turn it back to Simon. I got to go let my dogs in. So for everybody watching, please make sure these two stay in line because they always like to talk about me when I leave the room for a second. So I will be right back, guys. But Simon's going to go with his two least favorites. 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay, I can't believe he's doing another festival, but having it in Vietnam. Who does he think is going to turn up there?
He said there's only been a capacity of like 20 for this one.
I know.
That's what he was saying. He's already bought all the tickets.
And he's got Sunita headlining.
And opening.
Oh my God. Wow.
Absolutely. There you go.
He's just lost it, hasn't he? He's lost the plot.
I think so. It's a wild idea, but he's going to charter everybody over there as well. He was saying, so anyone who wants to go, he's covering it all. So yeah, that's a terrible album, Simon. Terrible.
Just shite, an absolute shite. And you thought there were no shite in Rainbow, didn't you? You really did. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Yes. So there are no shite albums in the Rainbow collection, apart from the Rod Jane and Freddie album, which isn't really very, very good at all, is it? So yeah. However, I'm going to cheat momentarily because that's what I do. Yes, I'm going to cheat. Yeah. I like, but don't wholeheartedly love these two. Yeah, I like them. They're good. I've enjoyed listening to them. They're not as good as the others, in my opinion. Bit foreignery.
Yep.
Foreign, yeah. They're a bit like Foreigner. That's what I'm trying to say. But
So
I'd like
Ritchie
to reserve.
He wanted it to be another Foreigner. That's
Exactly. And make shitloads of cash.
Yep.
Yeah. Should have stuck with Graham Bonnet. But anyway, I'd like to reserve some absolute iron, though, for whoever compiled this and whoever sequenced it. Yes, Stephen, yeah. Well, I mean, really? So you start with Joel and Turner ones, and you end up with side four with what? Just chronologically, sure. What Steven Reid would call the journey.
The journey.
Wouldn't he? It's just such a missed opportunity. And I know that, when this came out, they only had so much space and stuff. It's not like they could have put it on 38 discs like they do now. But why start with the DO stuff and work your way,
naturally
that way? Yeah, yeah. Yes, Stephen, you're looking at me like.
No, I'm pretty much in agreement in many ways. I like this.
I like it, but sequence it like a normal person.
He's 100% correct. I remember when I first heard that, I was like, why? There's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah. Well, what it makes me yearn for when I put it on, as I did the other day before we came to do this, is it makes me yearn for the Joel and Turner live album, that this feels like it was going to be. That's kind of what it sets the stall out as, and then it just veers all over the place. And it does, it is an odd idea, because you think, well, there's all the stuff recorded. There must be enough out there for an album at this point. Why didn't they just do that?
You know what? Now that you bring it, why is it all these years later, every other band's got a million archival live albums that have come out in their wake, Deep Purple especially. Why have we never gotten a double live album from like the Straight Between the Eyes tour or Bent Out of Shape tour? After all these years, you mean tell me there's no recordings out there where they can put out a fucking live album? It's like,
well, this would suggest otherwise, because there are like 2 or 3 songs from the same shows and various things like that. So this would tell you that's in the vaults.
Videos, I mean, it's out there. It's like,
my only answer is that Ritchie goes no. Ritchie say no.
That's
the only answer that I can give you, is that he owns whatever's out there. But even some of the bands that now, when you go onto the usual sites where you buy your CDs, everybody, And there's all these unofficial live releases, all these radio shows, still waiting for one of these. With that later lineup. I mean, there is stuff with Ronnie, but with later lineup, it just isn't there. It's odd, and that's what this always felt like this should have been. That's what it feels like. Do you know? And I quite like the cover. The cover says an awful lot, and various. There's so much, and it's I've got a lovely family tree and all this kind. There's so much right about it, other than what's on it.
It's as if they were stood in front of the goal and then just like knocked it a little bit wide.
Yeah. You got an open shot, and
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought a little bit of a cheat there. So because I couldn't bring myself to
I applaud that.
flag anything off.
Okay, so is that none of your choices equal your choices? Is that what you're saying?
God knows what I'm saying. Just
Okay, that's fine. I'm glad we got that straight.
Climb into this beer.
I've got lots of choices to make up for it because I've actually got I've got for an honourable mention in here. It's not an album, okay? It's not an album, so it can't really class as a non-favourite album. I've still got 2 non-favourite albums, but between the years, well, not between, because that'll be 1 year, but from 2017 to 2019, there were 5 standalone songs that came out with Ronnie Romero on vocals. Nothing against Ronnie Romero, I may add. He's good. He's good in all of these. He was good with the band live. Anyone that's watched our previous shows about live gigs, I didn't like that gig that he did with the band. Not because of him. Ritchie just was like, bored. Anyway, so, I mean, in 2017, they did what can only be classed as a completely lame version of Land in Hope and Glory. I mean, that's how to reintroduce Rainbow, isn't it? And then they go and cover I Surrender. I mean, and the thing is, Ronnie Romero is quite good on it. He does a decent job. He's shown that he's not just a Ronnie James Dio clone. But the backing track is Amateur Hour. It's really, really bad. It's the sort of thing that you would expect from some guy in their bedroom. It's really, really bad. Then you've got Waiting for a Sign, which was a bonus track off the like Memories and Rock live thing that came out. And it's okay. It's a bit dull. It has that kind of, here's a track to help you try and buy the album until you've heard it sort of feel about it. That's why it ended up there. And you think, okay. And then they kind of do a so-so but completely needless remake of Black Sheep of the Family. Just don't touch this stuff. Just leave it alone. You can't make it any better. So just don't go there. And then
Likes the funk, doesn't it?
Yes, it really lacks the funk. Absolutely. It's taken right up to 2019 and presented as if it would have been a new band recording it now. It's exactly what you're saying. That kind of feel, the life that's in it just is gone. It's a strange idea to do that. And then you've got The Storm. And to me, that's the only one out of the 5 that you kind of think, oh, Ritchie would like to be here. Ritchie feels like he wants to be here now. The other 4 tracks over a protracted period of time really feel like a guy kind of going, do I have to? Oh, don't make me. Please don't make me. But Ritchie, you're bringing it all back. You know, there's people that buy tickets and all this kind of stuff. Oh, all right then. I'll put my hat on. It's really, really, so there you go. So yeah, least favourite 2 officially I've gone for these 2. Okay, I like Difficult to Cure. I appreciate that it's flawed, and I kind of get that. It's probably most people's least favourite from the Turner era. This isn't helped by, I don't think the cover's as bad as a lot of people make it out to be, but look at the font. What's this about? Hello?
I like the art actually, but the logo is terrible. Yeah,
it's absolute. I just don't understand. There's a logo. It's a logo.
That's a logo.
You know, it's an album that's got a bit of an identity crisis. To me, after Difficult to Cure, it feels like they don't know whether to go all in, melodic rock, let's go all in, let's go for the hit, let's be an AOR band. But do you remember those 3 albums we did earlier on? I quite like those. They're quite good. What we'll do is we'll do both. And we'll end up a kind of neither. I don't dislike anything in this catalogue. There's nothing wrong with any of these albums. I don't reach for this much these days. I used to reach for all of these albums an awful lot, I have to say. This is another really bad cover. It's another really bad font. And it kind of sums everything up to me. It kind of feels like a band a bit lost. So, I mean, I really like Street of Dreams. I know it's the softie. I kind of get that. Sorry, George. But I really, really do like that song. It's a bit of a classic, and it really works for Joel and Turner's vocals. I just think that it's absolutely spot on for him. When I was 10, back when I was 10 when this came out, the Snowman was like, wow, you would have friends around the house and you'd go, you need to listen to this. You need to hear what this band have done, because none of my friends knew who Rainbow were. And they were all like, what is this shit? What is this shit? And you put them, oh, it's a Snowman. But then when he starts to go, they're all going, can we turn that off now? Like, I'm loving this. They're kind of going, no, we've done that now. Now we've done the walking in the air. But can we just turn it off? Can we get a song instead? And it just feels to me a bit like Ritchie's kind of going, I can't be bothered with having vocals on all the songs, so I'll do 2 instrumentals on the album, but I can only be bothered writing one of them. It just has that kind of feel about it, and the whole album just kind of feels a little bit like Ritchie's tired more than anything else. I think it comes across in the art and in the logo and just an awful lot about it. And that's nothing against the band. I mean, Roger Glover's great. His production is of its time. David Rosenthal on keyboards, Chuck Berge on drums by this stage. And the band's tight, they're good, there's nothing wrong with it. But considering the sort of sound that they were going for and the time that this was released, so we are in 1983 here, he said checking the date, I've just said it was 10. I can count. There's so many bands were doing this better in 1983, and that's also why this is a little bit of a non-favourite of mine. I put it on, I think this is all right, don't mind this at all. If I was in the mood for music like this, would I play this album? Probably not.
I think it looks like a post-Avalon Roxy Music album.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
It does. Before I reveal my 2, I agree with you 100% on this Rainbow reunion that happened X number of years ago. I was jacked big time when I heard about this, because I love this band, and Ronnie Romero I thought was an inspired choice. This was before he was kind of appearing everywhere, right? I still love him. I think Ronnie's great. I found all those like live albums and live DVDs, all that kind of stuff, just tired and uninspired. And Ritchie just didn't seem to be into it at all. And I agree with you. This is not Ronnie Romero's fault. I think, to me, he was the only shine. Jens Johansson is great too. Kind of cool that he picked him for it. But I mean, it's basically Blackmore's Night with Ronnie Romero and Jens Johansson. That's basically what it is. I'm not a fan of Blackmore's Night. I know a lot of people love him. I'm not a fan. And I think this was just Ritchie giving in to everybody pressuring him to do Rainbow again. And he probably got offered a lot of money. But man, I never got the impression that he was into it at all. And he just seemed tired. Ritchie, I love you to death, but you just seemed tired and old and just disinterested. And that was such a massive disappointment. You're going to record new stuff and you're doing updated versions of classic songs. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear more covers. The one song was okay, like you mentioned, it was not bad, but you knew they were never going to do a whole album. So what's the point? Anyway, enough. I get off my soapbox there. I probably will never listen to any of those again. There's no reason to. They're not very good. It's just I want to remember Rainbow like I remember Rainbow. That being said, my 2 least favorites, I like both of these albums. I just don't think they're top shelf Rainbow. Bent Out of Shape. Cover sucks. I agree with you. This to me is a band where I think the members of the band are still into it, but Ritchie is hearing Deep Purple reunion. Deep Purple reunion. Money, lots of money, and they're just going through the motions. And here, he wanted to be the next Foreigner, didn't quite turn out like he had planned, because by this point in 83, there's many other bands that are doing that style better than this. That being said, there's some good stuff on here. Drink with the Devil's good. Fire Dance I like. Street of Dreams is great. I like the instrumentals on here. It's a pleasant Rainbow album. It's not a great Rainbow album in my opinion, but it's pleasant. I like it. Then you got this one, Stranger in Us All. This is the first reunion album in the early 90s. I like this album. This is really honestly not that much different than what Ritchie did a few years ago when he put Rainbow back together again. So he's already left Deep Purple here again for the final time. Let's put Rainbow back together. He gets a cast of unknowns, including Doogie White at the time, who was nobody. Now Doogie White is somebody. I think it's a pretty good album. It's good. Maybe not the most memorable Rainbow stuff, but I think he was trying very hard to capture that kind of Dio Graham Bonnet era sound. And I think it kind of works. Unfortunately, it's like the early 90s. Nobody's interested in this anymore. But I bought this when it came out. I like it. It's not one of their best albums. It might be my least favorite of the studio albums, actually. But I still think it's good. It's fun. I don't listen to it too often, but I like it. But it's almost like when it came out, I knew this was going to be a one-off. Because I think still at this point in time, his heart wasn't into doing heavy rock anymore. So this was almost like, well, I'm out of Purple. I got to do something. And he did this. And unfortunately, it didn't last. So, yeah, those are my two favorites. Least favorites.
It's definitely saved, in my humble opinion, by Hall of the Mountain King.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, there's good stuff on it. Wolf to the
A
Moon.
good question, though. Is there a reason why he appears to be Wurzel Gummidge on the cover?
Oh, the cover's awful. He looks like a scarecrow. It's terrible.
Oh, yeah, well, Wurzel Gummidge is a children's scarecrow character that could change his head and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and that really genuinely, with the hair and everything, is exactly the look that it's on there. I mean, stranger in us all. I don't really get the message. If somebody can enlighten me below, I'll be delighted if they can.
And the font, the lettering on it, that's just awful. Terrible. And
I think it's trying to hark back to the classic logo without really doing so.
I guess, but why did he feel the need, or why the record label feel the need? They got to put his name on it again, like nobody remembers who Rainbow is. I guess I don't.
I think it was that nobody remembered who Ritchie Blackmore was, wasn't it? And the record company says, no, the record. I'm sure the record company says it's got to be a Rainbow album. Because you know what? In a massive shock now that you've slagged it off. Guess what?
I didn't slag it off.
Yes, yay, woo! Simon Bray recommends Stranger in Us All. Yes, he does. It is the world's worst cover. Just what the heck? Why's he got a lampshade on his head? Still in the field. Why? Why is that? And I think when did it come out? 1990 squiggle. Mid 90s. I think he looked around and he thought, yes. I think Bros are about to be popular. They've got a band member that nobody can remember the name of, Ken or whatever it's called, the bass player. And Britpop's around, and there's bands like Sleeper where nobody can remember all the guys in them. So I'll pick these bunch of fuckers that no one's ever heard of. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Derek, Bob, Josephine, all that kind of stuff. But I've so enjoyed listening to this over the past few months. It's outside my top three. The one I've really gone for. The first three songs are great, absolutely great. Wolf to the Moon is fantastic. Cold Hearted Woman, it's almost as if feminism didn't happen, isn't it? It really is. Ooh, such a cold hearted woman. Yeah, she's so bad. Oh, terrible. Hunting Humans, Insatiable is great. It's like bit different. Ooh. Yes, I think it's a really strong rock record. What it isn't, by any stretch of any imagination, is a Rainbow album.
Yeah.
It just, it doesn't do the whole Dungeons and Dragons, hey nonny nonny stuff. It's not that commercial. It's like you say, kind of saved by Hall of the Mountain King, which is great. Why they had to do Still I'm Sad Again? I don't know. I just don't know. And Ariel is quite clearly a Blackmore's Night song, because I think they covered it as well, didn't they, on one of their live albums? But I really like this record. And the other day I was reading a review of Doogie White's been in the UK, hasn't he, playing the odd dates, and the review said something along the lines of, he didn't take the easy way out by playing songs from Stranger in Us All. I'm thinking, well, we're the only three people that bought this. Pretty confident I wasn't there. Wherever that gig took place, I wasn't there. But if I was, and he didn't play anything off that, I'd be going, but you're playing stuff that Dio's saying? Really? Yeah. Anyhow, just to really go out on a limb and really, really cheat, I went through my Blackmore's Night phase. did. I really liked them for a while. I
Okay.
don't know why I stopped. I think it's when CDs got stupidly expensive. But I really, really like Secret Voyage. Really like it. Yes, I do. God Save the Keg and Locked Within the Crystal Ball are awesome. It's like one of those two songs that just meld together like Misplaced Childhood. They're so good. So very, very good. They really are such really memorable tunes. And hey, there's even a terrible cover of Can't Help Falling in Love, the Elvis song. Oh yeah, you know it makes sense. And yes, it's very, very hey nonny nonny. It really is. You know, and I slap my thighs every time I listen to it. And I listened to it for the first time in quite a while recently. And I also adored it. I really liked this record when it came out. Just me then. Okay, I mean, and who couldn't love such a bunch of rapscallions like those? Look, yay.
I mean, Candace is awesome. I mean, she's a really good singer. She's beautiful. I mean, she's got personality. I find their music boring as shit. I don't know.
Oh, I even bought a solo album, me and no one else. Yeah,
I had
but you know, it's not exactly pick a Deep Purple album of your choice. It's not exactly metal, but I really enjoy it. Good tunes, beautifully sung, nicely arranged. And who wouldn't want weird as shit instruments on your music these days? You know, me. Oh no, I did enjoy it. Yeah.
Did you
But
see
yeah,
them live? Have you seen them live?
no. No,
No.
they played York. York's quite near me, and they played that a lot. But I never felt like minstrelling it up or anything like that because I think you're supposed to
Well,
do that,
I
aren't you?
didn't necessarily think you had cosplayed, but
Yes.
I do wonder that if I'd kind of been brave enough to go along with the hey no nonsense and go and see them, if I'd go, that's great fun. I like that now, but on CD or record or whatever I just kind of I feel a bit ridiculous more
But
than anything.
oh,
If it,
certainly on the clips I've seen of Rainbow Live, he turned up with his Hey Nonny Nonny hat on, didn't he? Quite often.
well, he's a man in black. I mean, he wears the hey no hat. That's what he's
Why?
wearing as a
Just,
scarecrow on the front of Stranger in Us All.
just
No, it's
be
one of those times I said
Ritchie.
I can't remember what show I said it on before, but I asked myself. Oh, it was a review actually of Magenta's new album, where I asked the question of myself: if this was somebody that I didn't know, would I sit and listen to this and go, "That's quite good"? And the answer was no. And that's what I find with this is I find myself putting on because I've tried with Blackmore's Night. I've had a couple of the albums in my hands and played them and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, I don't hate them and they're well played and they're well put together. And you can't pick holes in them in that sense. But I get halfway through and think, I'm listening to this because I feel like I should, not because if this was any other set of musicians that I didn't know who they were, I would have turned this off by now. And hence I turned it off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I sat with it because I think, and I do, don't get me wrong, behind me there is stuff by people that I've bought it because they're involved and you put it on and you go, yeah, I wouldn't normally buy this, but it's all right. With a bit of hindsight, you think, is it really? Am I convincing myself? I don't know. Anyway, they've got lots of fans.
It's a quick question to get back to Stranger in Us All. So he splits from Purple after Battle Rage is on. He puts Rainbow back together, releases that album. Purple releases Perpendicular. Who do you guys think did it better?
Oh, wow. I probably prefer Perpendicular.
Yeah, me too.
To be honest. And I don't mind Stranger in Us All. It was never in consideration for my least favourite. I think it's a steady, solid album. I think it's still Doogie White's best performance from this point onwards. Some of his early stuff is quite outstanding, in actual fact.
I would go with this because I haven't listened to Deep Purple since we listened to them for years on end, going through the entire catalogue. So you know, just for recency value, it's that.
You ever stop to think about Doogie White? Like what in like maybe 10 or 15 years from now, someone's going to interview him and be like, all right, so you have now worked with like 3 of the most difficult guitar players on the planet, and that's been your career. What's wrong with you, right? I mean, he's worked with Schenker, Yngwie, and Ritchie Blackmore. Could you imagine? And that's your resume? It's like,
I mean, I often look at because he just seems to have followed Graham Bonnet about. That's a terrible. I mean, Doogie's not from local to me in inverted commas. He's not from very far from where I'm from, and he's a nice guy by all accounts, and he's a very talented chap. But I do wonder if in 10 years' time he'll actually be fronting the Graham Bonnet band. Do you know what I mean? It just kind of feels like that's the way that it's destined to be. And I don't particularly like his solo stuff, more recent solo stuff, a huge amount and all that sort of stuff. He's a great singer, but we're going way off beam here. I do feel he's out of place in his current band, I have to say, personally. Alcatraz doesn't work.
Alcatraz?
One minute. It does. It's become it's funny, we're talking about rising, starting power metal. Alcatraz were not part of that scene. You wouldn't know that from listening to them now.
True,
It's
they become a power
band entirely. It doesn't work for me. It's not what I want from an Alcatraz album. What did they
right. The albums are good. I don't know if they're Alcatraz albums.
Solid, yeah. But I put them on. You put that name on the front, and especially when you take Graham Bonnet out of it. And I know that the other guys are integral to that band because they wrote the music in the early albums and various things. No disrespect to any of them. But you put that name on the front, I want it to sound like Alcatraz, especially if you're going to take the main guy out. It needs to have some connection. Take Bonnet out and not sound like those albums. Who are we now? Not Alcatraz. But anyway, that's, I say, way off beam. Way off beam.
Your turn. I finished.
My turn. So I'd been talking that long. I presumed it wasn't anymore. Okay, right. So wild cards. I mean, it's got to get a mention. Okay, but it's utterly flawed. It's utterly flawed. Okay, so there you are. And I will also quickly mention what is less flawed, which are these ones, the Live in Germany ones, Munich and various things. These kind of present the live album on stage much better than on stage does, in my humble opinion. But my actual wild card that I'm going to go for is that I'm going to go a little sideways, and I'm going to go for this. So I'm going to go for Rescue You by Joel and Turner from 1985 on Elektra, produced by Roy Thomas Baker. Now, this absolutely soared to number 143 on the US album chart. Okay. I mean, it's basically what Joe did next. It's him on vocals, it's Alan Greenwood from Foreigner on keyboards, and those two wrote most of the songs. You've got Chuck Burgy from Rainbow on drums, Bobby Massaro on guitars and bass. He'd been with Stars, he'd worked with Peter Criss, Frankie and the Knockouts, and then after this album, he would work with Fiona, Lou Gramm, many, many more. And basically for me, this is the melodic rock album that Rainbow were trying to make. This supersedes any of those four albums, by quite some distance. Yes, there are some similarities to Foreigner, but who's on board? Bound to be. And with Joel and Turner there, well, it sounds a bit like Rainbow. It's smooth, excellent, keyboard-laden, but guitar-driven melodic rock. And yes, I'm going to say that phrase, tick your bingo card off. It should have been huge. Okay, we've got Eyes of Love, Get Tough. I mean, and I'm going to go out there and say that Bon Jovi and Desmond Child heard that and decided to call it Living on a Prayer. You've got Losing You. I mean, the whole thing is absolutely excellent. And it's a real shame because it bombed in those terms. These days, a heavy rock album get to number 143 in the album chart. Whoa!
Yeah, celebrate.
Then it was like, bye, Joe. Nice to see you. And really, for the next couple of years, he did backing vocals on albums by Michael Bolton, by Cher, John Waite, Lee Allen, Jimmy Barnes, Bonfire, TNT, all good acts to larger or lesser extents there. But he was backing vocals. He was just this guy in the studio making these people sound even better than they do normally before he shocked the melodic rock world by coming back with Yngwie J. Malmsteen for an album that we really should discuss on the melodic rock show that we do, because that's an interesting album in its own right. I would go as far as to say this is the best thing that Joel and Turner's put his name to, both in a band and out of a band. And if you like melodic hard rock and you like what Rainbow were trying to do on the three albums that he fronted, this is where you should be. This is the one that does it right. So that's my wild card.
I'd argue that Ritchie's vision for where he wanted to take Rainbow could have never gotten there because of Ritchie Blackmore.
Yeah,
his style doesn't fit that.
There's no way that a guitarist of that renown could ever allow other elements to shine strongly enough to go out there and make a proper melodic rock album. Much so difficult to cure tries. may I add. It does try. It's the one where you can kind of almost feel him doing the half step backwards. That's as close as it gets. But it was, yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I think for me, like Stone Cold from Straight Between the Eyes, they hit the mark there, but they didn't do enough of that type of stuff. That was the problem. Because you were right. Straight Between the Eyes is a band that has their one foot in one camp, one foot in the other. It's like, well, what do we really want to do? Because good chunk of Straight Between the Eyes kicks ass, right? That's
Straight Between the Eyes feels like the album to me where they listened to critics. Because Difficult to Cure was a step, and that was clearly where he wanted to go. And then Straight Between the Eyes is the album where somebody's gone, but is that right, Ritchie? Do you think that's exactly where we should be? Look at all what all these people are saying. Right, okay. Yeah, let's give in a little bit.
Yeah. It's like Rainbow's supposed to be a metal band. Oh, but we want hits, right? Yeah, no, it's very true. All right, my wild card, I instantly thought of this because to me, and you brought it up before, Steven, this to me should have always been the Rainbow Live album released in the 70s, and that's Live in Germany, 1976. We had to wait for this forever, and this is what On Stage should have been. Kill the King, Mistreated, 16th Century Greensleeves, Catch the Rainbow, Man on the Silver Mountain, Stargazer, Still I'm Sad, and Do You Close Your Eyes. And I would argue still that maybe they could have taken Mistreated off of here and slotted something else in there still. Because it's like, did Blackmore really need to continue to play Deep Purple songs in Rainbow? Maybe not, but it's still fairly early on, so I get it. But this is to me, the definitive Rainbow Live album. Always has been. But again, On Stage has moments of brilliance, but way too many covers and jamming and all that kind of stuff. It's like that should have been a dynamite album. It's not long enough either. It's a double album. It's not long enough. This is it. And arguably, you could say that, well, the reason why it's so great is because Stargazer's on here. Stargazer should have been on any Rainbow Live album at that time period. End of story, right? It's just end of story. We don't need Still I'm Sad. Don't need it, even if it's on here too. But 15 minutes long. Do you really need a 15-minute version of that? I mean, come on. There's other songs that could be on here still, but this is the best one, obviously. So yeah. There you have it, everyone. Before Steven gives us a little sneak peek into next time, your assignment. You're probably already thinking about it. You probably already got your comment down there. Your two favorites, your two least favorites, and your wild card. Will be interesting to see what people come up with. So what did not get picked today? So nobody picked Difficult to Cure. That's the only album that did not get picked for anything.
Yep.
Interestingly enough.
Yep.
Cool. Well,
maybe that is the ultimate insult.
People don't have enough. We don't have enough of an opinion about it. I mean, I like Difficult to Cure, but
I like
not quite a favorite. It's not a least favorite. I didn't pick it for my wild card. It's just,
Same as yourself, it's where I came in, so I just can't hate it.
Yeah, I think I said I thought about it, didn't I? But then didn't. Is that not?
Yeah, you did.
I showed it, didn't I?
You did show it. You did actually. So everything has been shown at some point. Actually, yeah, absolutely. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
All right, Steven, I'll turn it over to you. What do we got next?
Okay, well, we have got a viewer to thank for what we're doing next because Roy Glancy, way back in July, suggested a show that we should maybe do, which is all about title tracks. Now, Roy's thought was, why do we hold them in such high esteem? Why do we have such high expectations for them? What are the best and what are the worst? This, I may add, has been one of the hardest assignments because I've already started all this because it's just a ginormous field that's out there, ridiculously ginormous field that's out there. I'm currently working through a short list of roughly 70 or 80 for my favourites. It's really just...
There's so many good ones.
There's so many good ones. The bad ones is equally difficult because there are far, far fewer. So yes, we have been tasked to do 5 favourite and 5 least favourite title tracks is what we're doing on the next show. And we would love you all to play along because the choices are endless. And as always, no right or wrong with this. Because, I mean, there's so many that I would love to mention that I've already discarded because we just can't. I don't know if we can do a second show on the bad ones, We definitely could on the good ones. Definitely could on the good ones.
Well, we'll do the one show. We'll see how that works, and then it's because
Yeah. So that's what we're doing next. We're doing favorite and least favorite title tracks. Is what we're doing.
Yeah, this is going to be challenging. It's like I've also started my list, and there's so many good ones. So it's like you just have to, you have to stop and think. Well, which ones mean the most to us as individuals?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, we're not going to pick title tracks from an album that came out 2 years ago. It's just probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
I've just been focusing on the shite this week.
Oh, okay.
I've got some good shite.
Because that's the harder list to pick, right? So it's
Oh no, I went to my box out there and thought, God, that's crap. That's bollocks. That's absolute shite. Came in with a big pile. Job's a good one. Because I've got terrible taste in music. That's right.
I've definitely got enough to cover the 5 and then some, to be fair. Yeah. Absolutely. I do.
And what's going to be hilarious is because of course that this is going to happen. There's going to be ones that we pick that are our least favorite, that are the shite, and there's going to be people going to be like, "That's my favorite title track of all time. How can it be the worst?" Well, to us it is.
Yeah, right? But you said it yourself, Pete. As we end up, my top list, will they be the best ever title tracks? Well, they will to me. There's a separate list out there for the ones that are kind of the biggest and the most important and the most played and the most heard and all that. And
doesn't mean you have to pick those. Doesn't mean you have to pick
absolutely. So just because we think they're shite doesn't mean to say that those songs are not important to somebody else. And it will be interesting to see. The comments on that one are going to be so much fun because there's going to be so many different choices in there. It's going to be a real eye opener for what people choose.
Yeah, I think so. So tune in 2 weeks from today for that, which will be, we're coming up on the holidays already, guys. Crazy. What do we have? We have 2 more episodes before we call it quits for the year. Is that it? So
yes, I think we've got that next one, and then we're going to do our end of year kind of round up like we did last year, best of little bits and bobs.
That's where we're up to. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There you go. So, look, Simon's on it. He's keeping us all right.
That's Simon's New Year's resolution this year is he's going to keep better eye on the calendar of topics. And
Simon's already actually agreed that I'll hand all of that on to him for next year.
There you go. But Simon, you have a secret weapon you haven't even thought of. John can help you with the calendar going forward. You're not utilizing.
I
got him locked in the cupboard, man. You got to put him to use, man. You got to feed him.
I'll have to take the strip off his garb, and then he'd start singing again. And just
Give him the calendar, Pete. He just flicks through the pages all the time.
By a show of hands in the comments, how many people have no idea what we're talking about right now? All I'll say is if you have no clue, go back and watch the old episodes because you're missing out if you have no idea what we're talking about. Every show on this channel has long-running jokes and bits. That's ours. So John Parr, ladies and gentlemen. Simon, keep him under control, will you please? Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together. All the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Get your list ready for the next episode coming 2 weeks from today. Your 5 favorite title tracks, your 5 least favorite title tracks, and wait and see what we've got cooking for that. I'm very anxious to see what everybody's like. I guarantee I'd be surprised if any of the 3 of us had the same picks for any of ours. I'd be surprised. And if we do, hey, that just shows you how great those songs are or how shitty those songs are, right? So until then, for Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I'm Pete Pardo. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Stay tuned for Ranking the Albums coming up tomorrow. The return of Mike Antonelli here on the channel. He and I are going to rank our top 10 favorite John Coltrane albums for all you jazz nuts out there. You don't want to miss this one. It's a long time coming. Till then, have a good one, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.